Like the fact that I got the jackets for, $10 a piece. The little wee jackets.
Hey, y'all need to have like a special meeting here in town. Your kids are a bunch of little fucking shitheads. They have no idea how to egg a vehicle or the purpose of the egg and toilet paper.
Okay, I'm going to show you a picture of my boy, and if my boy's fucking with you or fucking around, please let me know.
Yes, ma'am.
He's been hanging out with some kids that I've been questioning and stuff, and so I'm going to show you a picture of my boy.
All right, if Carlos is your son, he's cool as shit.
He's not Carlos. His name is Malachi.
Malachi?
Yeah, he's 13. He's kind of shy, but he's a little shit, if that makes sense. That's Malachi right there.
Which one?
That one. He's as tall as I am. Whoops.
That's definitely not him.
Okay, good.
That's not any of them.
Okay, good. Because if you see my son fucking around, let me know.
Yes, ma'am. I absolutely will. Oh my God, that's like living in Chapel. If you see my kid breaking into anything,
right.
Or if you see my daughter hanging out with that fucking kid from Louisville.
You're like, your mom said to get your ass home. That's all you have to do. Your mom said to get your ass home.
You know, I definitely do that. I'm capable.
Yeah, because his latest thing is he's been sneaking out, going over and hanging out with his homies and stuff. So, like the other night, he was supposed to be staying over at his friend, and he comes walking in at midnight. I'm like, I thought you were staying over at your friend's house. Well, his dad said I couldn't stay the night. So why are you coming in at midnight? You know that if you can't spend the night, you're supposed to be home at 9, 10 on the weekends. But not no midnight 1 o'clock. Like, what the hell? You ain't grown.
Yeah, what's the purpose of having parents if you can do it all yourself?
Right. But who asked me to make them a peanut butter and jelly sandwich last night? It's like, you were 13 years old. You better make your own peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
If he needs to be taught how to wipe his own backside, they threw me it was a brand new roll of toilet paper. They didn't even unroll it a bit to make sure it unraveled.
Oh, well, at least you got some toilet paper. I would say thank you.
Well, that's what I'm saying about we needing to have a public meeting, is because if your kids are going to be doing that kind of stuff, first of all, you need to teach them how to throw the toilet paper.
Right.
And that they're supposed to egg the car before throwing the toilet paper.
Right.
They did it in reverse. I mean, the least they could have done was dunk it in the toilet and toss it as a clod.
Right. I swear to God, if I find out Malachi doing some shit like that, I will beat his ass. You don't do that to people.
Well, you got a free roll of toilet paper on it.
I did. Matter of fact, I was using it to blow my beak last night. I was also bitching, whining, moaning, and complaining. I parked there, and normally I'm against staying the night in any business-type parking lot because it's easy to get harassed, and the cops say, oh, we just have a standing call from them that anybody stays here, you gotta go. So I try not to. But with them doing that shit, especially after the pumpkin stuff last week, and the threatening to kill me, and the kicking of my vehicle, and getting that dude to harass me when I was trying to turn in my cams. He assaulted me 3 different times that first day, and then he assaulted me over at one of the churches. I'm like, yeah, and people send me to the churches and tell me they're safe. God bless America.
Right.
And then there's the damn N-word. I'm like, fuck, between that and the anti-Semitic stuff, this is something I was against. I wanted to keep a full beard, because manly. Problem is, I had to cut off my Jew curls because, they're screaming anti-Semitic shit at me, and I'm like, well, this ain't the right place for me. And then people point at me and they go, you're a white guy. You got all sorts of people on your side. I'm like, my eyes are the wrong color for these people. Do you not understand how their genetic process works? According to them, I'm genetically inferior. I might as well be a toad or a frog or a tadpole. Yeah, her people consider breeding with my people like breeding with primates.
Oh my goodness.
I had to blame it on you.
You blame it on me. Why? What did I do?
It's the color of your skin, mostly the color of your eyes. I
Better
figured.
shut your ass up.
Right? I'm fishing for an ass whooping today.
You are. You want to stick a Tide Pod up your ass.
So them fuckers
least you'll
did that
smell
to
fresh
me,
and
and
clean.
here I am taking it out on the wrong person.
Look at you.
And it's all because of your skin color and the color of your eyes.
God damn me and my white ass self.
Right.
On the bright side,
Shame
you're a
on you.
woman, so you get away with it. Oh,
I don't give a
damn.
shit, trust me.
See, now that's 3 ass whoopings, yo. Or, yeah. 3
No,
ass
that's
whoopings,
2.
yo.
That's 2 today.
That's 2 today.
Yep. You called her white, and then you called her a woman.
Yeah, how do you know how I identify, motherfucker? Just because I look like a woman don't mean I identify as a woman.
Tell you what, if I
I
see
could identify as a goddamn chicken. You don't know.
if I see a dude in a dress beat you the fuck down, I don't give a holy goddamn how he identify. I'm gonna tell the police it was a dude in a dress.
Right.
Just saying.
Excuse me, ma'am, sir. Ma'am, sir.
That's the newest thing. All these people coming in here looking like men and going, I identify as a woman. Don't be calling me no, sir. Then don't fucking walk in here looking like a man.
Right.
And don't expect me to fucking say I'm sorry. You
I've
fucking
said sir
asshole.
to lesbians unintentionally because some of them do dress quite butch, and it's difficult to tell.
Because
the
they want to
difference
look
between
butch.
a
If you want to
30-year-old
look butch, you
lesbian
shouldn't
and
be
a
offended by me
20-year-old
calling
man.
you a sir. That
Right.
means mission accomplished.
Right?
Goddamn. Don't
In
fucking
Boulder-
get pissed at me.
I was fine with the them, they thing until I started having my LGBT friends coming up to me and telling me, well, I identify as such and such and such and such, golden unicorn. I'm like, I'm never going to remember that. So I started telling them, well, I identify as Super Shortsy 5000, international superstar and badass battle dragon, linguistic mastermind, net liberator, and comedic bird.
There you go. Remember that, bitches.
Right.
Yeah. After that, everyone had a name. After that, everyone was like, all right, my name is really Travis. You can call me Travis. I identify as fucking Travis.
I'm Miranda, and I identify as a pretty princess. And that's what I am.
I am a pretty fucking princess.
Right. Right.
He's got a little skirt on.
I know.
That's right. And you know what? I'm so manly that I wear the manliest color there is. You have any idea how many men are afraid of the color pink?
Right. That's my daddy's favorite color.
They wear it and they got to call it salmon. And I am such a nice guy. I remind them it's still pink salmon. All right. Well, I didn't come over here to harass you. I came over here because I was
You
gonna
came
go in
over
the
and
store
called
get
me a
special
white
clothes.
privileged bitch.
Right.
But not in that order.
Pretty much.
Since it wasn't in that order, it's not offensive. Or shouldn't be offensive, and you just must be a liar who's taking things out of context. That's it.
Oh, you've heard that before.
You know what? I spent lots of time with wannabe liberals. I know exactly how this works. Wannabe liberals do the same thing that Democrats and Republicans do. Liberals, they put their name all over all this shit that poor people did.
Hold on, let me overthink this.
That reminds me of this lady I know in the deli. She got kind of a fucked up sense of humor. I'm thinking she's an October baby.
Shut your fucking mouth. Hey, it's not Cynthia. Cynthia's September, so I don't know who the October 22nd is.
Right.
I'm gonna figure it out.
I thought it was October 4th.
No, that's hers.
Oh, that's what you guys talking about.
No, we're trying to figure out. He knows somebody told him on October 22nd was their birthday day. I can't believe it.
Yeah, they were telling me that they were a Libra, but like right on the cusp of Libra because it was the 22nd. I went, all right.
Is it a guy or girl?
A girl, for certain. Guys don't give a crap about that crap.
I don't know.
All right, most guys don't give a crap about that crap. If they do, they've been hanging out with hippie chicks and doing a lot of LSD. would it be alright if I got the mode code?
77456.
Thank you, ma'am. Oh, yeah. There we go.
Well, if you have your club card, please stand now. If you have your club card, please scan it now. Welcome. If you have your club card, 179. If you have your club card, please scan it now. Your card has been accepted. Please try to accept new items in the bag. 1. How many store-provided bags did you use today? Your total is 99, and your savings is 80 cents. Please wait. System processing. Follow the instructions on the pin pad. Please remember to take your receipt. Thank you. Welcome. If you have your club card, please scan it now. Scan items one at a time, placing them in the bagging area.
So the family unions just
Ever since
also
COVID,
big
things
as
have gone downhill.
to bombard my view
4 years
with eggs and granola bars and cursing last night. It was very true. I recorded it and got a driver's car with a license plate.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Right, I could be mean to them, but I figure it's easier to not hurt people than it is to actually hurt.
She wasn't gonna answer me there, so I just said,
All right, I'm just acknowledging. Yes, ma'am.
what the heck are you?
Well, here's some of the eggshell. There's egg. All the way at my vehicle. There's some eggshell. There's some eggshell. Lots and lots and lots of pieces of eggshell, huh? Aren't these little sweethearts? Oh well. No, there's some more on top of my car. And on my windshield. On the bright side, it's raining right now, so I can kind of sort of turn on my car a little bit and do something about that. It's always fun when someone vandalizes my stuff. Something in my car smells like a wet dog. I was gonna watch something on the RPG2s that Hamas are making. I don't exactly know what the measurements are between the end of the barrel and the firing pin on an RPG2 or an RPG7, but theoretically you should be able to make a launcher that can fire both rounds, or both types of rounds. I mean, if you look at the 07V round, for example, for the RPG7, the difference between the RPG7 round and the RPG2 round, I mean, there are a lot of differences, but basically it's two different stages on the RPG7. You've got the initial black powder explosion, which you also have on an RPG2, and that's your starter charge. That's what gets the thing out of the end of the barrel. And then on an RPG2, that just carries it to wherever you're hopefully pointing it at. Hopefully you're not trying to look over there and you're firing something over here. That's not too bright. But as we've gotten to see, there's a lot of the fighters over there, instead of them actually taking careful aim and pulling the trigger, they stick it over their head and poke it over the wall. There's been a couple of guys that killed themselves and everybody around them because on the way to heft it over the wall, they ended up poking the tip of one of the old style rounds into the side of a building, or of course it's a side of a wall, you know. It's an impact tip, and if you hit it too hard, it goes off. Well, they're in a hurry. They don't want to get shot. They don't want to get sniped, so they're going to put it up there real quick, fire it real quick, and bring it back down. Maybe. Thing about hiding on the other side of a wall is that unless they're filled with concrete and rebar, they're probably not going to do much against small arms even. There's a guy that he had like over, I don't know, it was a shit ton of shrapnel. That's all I can say. His whole shirt was peppered in blood and peppered with holes, and I mean, to me it looked like there were thousands. They only numbered it in the hundreds, but I'm looking at it and I'm going, well, fuck. How many of those fragments came from bullets? None of them. It went through a brick. A brick? You know, like you build your house out of brick. You think you're going to hide behind your brick wall and it's going to defend you, but against some stuff, yeah. The elements, yeah, it's pretty good for that. Earthquakes, not so much, but hey, ain't nothing perfect. In the case of tornado, that just becomes debris. Then again, after tornadoes, people have found pieces of straw. You know, like the grasses? Pieces of straw stuck in the side of their houses. Like, shot into it like a fucking steel dart, but and it's a hollow grass. I mean, when you think about that, that's pretty tremendous. Now, with the explosives that America has, we use some that are pretty proprietary. They're made so that some of them it'll arm after a few minutes to a few hours, and then after a few hours, some of them will self-destruct. Some of them are made so that they're rendered chemically inert. The way that you do that is you have two separate timers, and you have a chemical-based explosive. Now, those two separate timers, the first one arms the explosive, and it's a short fuse. It arms itself between a few minutes and a few hours away from when you want it to go off, or want it to be armed. Let's say you've got troops that are going through. This is the reason that America started doing this. The Russians are being accused of launching a particular type of bomb in Ukraine, and it's basically a leaflet bomb. It acts like one of the seed pods on a tree, and it basically just spins to the ground. And it arms itself after a few minutes, and then it just stays armed. It doesn't take hardly any pressure to get it to explode. So it's also made in colors that make it look like the terrain around it. But if a kid looks at it, it might look like a plastic toy, and they might pick it up. Boom, there goes their arm. Now, the Russian variant just explodes. It sits there and it remains there. With the American variants, we apparently stopped making them back in the 1960s. And we were supposed to be done with the stockpile of what we had by 1971. That's not to say it's the truth of it, but the Russians basically copied ours. The difference is, ours were made so that there was two chemicals that would mix together, and that would arm the explosive. And then there was a third chemical that, after a long delayed fuse, would mix with the other two chemicals and make it basically just mud. I mean, it's not going to do anything. It won't blow up. It won't light on fire. It won't nothing. With the RPG-2 and the RPG-7, apparently America is making proprietary rounds for the PSRL-1 and PSRL-2 platforms. These are RPG-7s that we've copied, reverse engineered and made with more space age technology. So it's supposed to be top of the line. It's supposed to be lighter weight than an RPG-7, but it's supposed to last up to 1,000 rounds, whereas an RPG-7, they say up to 400 rounds, and an RPG-2, if it's well made by the Russians, which they did have pretty good metallurgy back in the day, despite what America tried saying in the Vietnam War, said it was faulty Chinese and Russian craftsmanship. No, we just made overcharged rounds and slipped them into people's ammo. If y'all have watched Kentucky Ballistics, I think it is, the guy who does that, he had a 50 cal that was an overcharged round, blow up right in his face. Blew his gun up. It was a Serbu Arms 50 cal and single shot bolt action. It was supposed to be a slap round, which kicks extra hard anyway, but these were way overcharged. Now, with the RPG-7 and the RPG-2, the Palestinians have not historically had the greatest capacity for making good items. Some of their rockets, it's understandable why they're made so cheap and why they're made out of such shitty materials. You don't want the things back. You're not storing it for 50 years. You're storing it for a couple of years at most, and you're in a dry area. So sugar-based rockets actually last a while there. Potassium nitrate-based and sugar-based rockets. It's not like here in Oregon where it's constantly wet. That's something about both sugar and potassium nitrate. They both suck up the oxygen and they suck up the moisture. Problem with moisture and something like that is, first of all, it increases the smoke if you get it ignited, and second of all, it decreases the rocket's ability to fly, to provide enough thrust to make the rocket so that the blast that's coming out of it is sporadic or possibly non-existent. Making sugar rockets, if you're going to make them in a place like Oregon, you got to do it beginning of the summer while everything is still damp. You make it in your house. You assemble it all where you're going to launch it. And if you're going to go through all that, you might as well just go get one of the Estes rockets they have down at the model store. I mean, it's for all the time that you're going to be spending to make your own. Unless you're going out there and launching hundreds of them, it's probably not worth the time to money rate to be able to do that for the fun you're going to be having out of it. If you're doing it as an educational thing, that's kind of understandable. One of those just-in-case things. But also, a lot of the videos that I watch, the ones that I like to earmark and flag, are the videos where people are in real-life situations. Like, for example, Myanmar. When I make the videos about the people in Myanmar making their illegal firearms, you know, these are farmers with welders in little grass huts that are very low to the ground so that other people won't see them. And they're manufacturing these guns that guerrilla fighters are supposed to use against heavily armed government troops. There's also a lot of pictures and a lot of film and a lot of video that they have of them videotaping them testing stuff out, and something goes wrong and somebody ends up missing a hand or missing a head. Gross. Not just gross, but that was a human life once. Took years to gestate and grow and adapt. You know, every single person who dies has a certain degree of life experience under their belt. A certain degree of survival experience under their belt. If you're 40 years old, you've got 40 years worth of surviving under your belt. For it all to end just because you pulled something stupid and built things with substandard materials. Now, the RPG-2s that they used in Vietnam, they were like 2-shot weapons. It was rare for you to get 3 shots at, well, you'd get an average of 3 shots. 3 shots out of one. That was average before it exploded on your ass. And you couldn't do it in rapid succession. You had to fire it and then let it cool down, like significantly so, like back down to room temperature kind of thing. Otherwise, you increased how much you heat it up, and that, of course, makes the metal just a little bit softer, and that makes it just that much closer to fucking exploding on your ass. Now, the ones that are made in, what do you call it? the Gaza Strip in specific, they're supposed to have a variant that fires RPG-2 and RPG-7 rounds. Obviously, it's not going to fire an RPG-7 round exactly the way the RPG-7 round is meant to fire, because it doesn't have one of those, it's not a baffle, it's an expansion chamber, because it's just an RPG-2. But I don't know what the distance is from the opening on it to where the firing pin is on it. Now, both of them use the same exact trigger grouping. You can interchange on any RPG-2. You can interchange the trigger grouping with any other RPG-2. If it's made in Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, Russia, China, Vietnam, they're all interchangeable. Some of them work just a little bit differently internally on the trigger thing, but externally they all look the same. And they all work the same, like, functionally. They got a firing pin that swings up, or they got a hammer that swings up, and it hits a firing pin. When it hits it basically this way. The firing pin goes up, hits the primer goes off, and the projectile does its thing. And of course, there's rubber bushing, or I've been told sometimes they used wound horsehair. And what happens is the little box basically the firing pin's in, when it goes off, it's going to want to push that firing pin down, and that horsehair or the rubber bushing makes it so there's a tight seal. As you push it down, it wants to expand it out, and it makes it so that it doesn't allow any of the black powder or any of that burn out of it, which is definitely a good thing. You don't want to burn your hand. But what it all comes down to here is, what are you getting? What are you buying? Where are you getting it from? What's your purpose? What's your intention? If you're wanting to buy a demilled RPG-2 or RPG-7, you probably want to sport the money to get either a Russian one or a former communist bloc one. Because in the communist bloc, basically, if you made one at the Kalashnikov factories, not the Kalashnikov factories, it's a fucking tire factory is what it is. They made tractors and farm equipment and stuff like that. And anybody who the Russians basically loaned the idea out to that was in the communist bloc would kind of do their own thing with it. But if they were within the USSR itself, which a lot of these communist bloc nations, which we think of as nations or independent nations now, a lot of them used to be part of the USSR. And if they were part of the USSR, then they were expected to make it to the same standards as the rest of them. Now, the Russians themselves, or the USSR itself, only made RPG-2s from, it was designed and implemented in 1949, and then it was utilized up to like 1959 or 1957, something like that. It wasn't for very long. They were still, I guess, trickling them out up until like 1961. But after that, that was basically their version of like how America had the AR-15 platform or M16, but they also had the AR-18, which most NATO countries adopted the AR-180 platform or AR-18 platform over the M16 platform just because it was simpler. That goes for the new Enfields. It's not really an Enfield, it just has the name that the British use, or are possibly going to be adopting or adapting. That's a lot of really, really fancy gear and gizmos. And the bullets themselves have pretty well remained the same. When it comes to safety, Russia makes knockoffs of our stuff, but their knockoffs at least work. And that's what they're looking at. For America, during the Vietnam War, when we're having to deal with people firing RPG-2s and RPG-7s at us, or our APCs, or even the tanks, Americans set a lot of booby traps, and they didn't necessarily hold the ground. That was one of the biggest issues that we had. A lot of our casualties that we ended up having in Vietnam were American soldiers stepping on landmines that were set by American soldiers. The last group through there set booby traps and set landmines and then left. And then, of course, when they went back there, it's not like they marked out every single mine that they had there and gave it out to every single person in the military. That's one of the reasons those little leaflet bombs were invented by the United States. If they knew there was a lot of enemy troops moving through that area, they could drop a bunch of those things there, and they could decide whether they wanted it to become inert in an hour or 5 days. You know? That's one of the things about cluster munitions. You don't need one of your guys there to set it off. We do have the benefit now of seeing the effects of cluster munitions. When you look at it from a aerial view, from a drone, you're thinking of it as a machine. You're not thinking about the person inside. Do you know why I like Star Trek Online and Crossout and World of Tanks and War Thunder? You know why I liked all those games, but I don't like first-person shooters? I don't want to think about people getting shot. When it's just the machine that I see, I only think about the machine being destroyed. On a video game, obviously, in Star Trek Online, when I go out and my first mission is in a Miranda class, and I go and blow up something Klingon, I know that there aren't actual Klingons on board an actual ship. I realize that it's just pixels, and it's just a video game. When you cheer because you saw a Russian tank blow up, and the turret went 200 foot in the air. Some of them did. Are you thinking about the families of those soldiers? They're not even going to find a body. They're not going to find so much as a toe, a fingernail, nothing. Let me explain to you how the Russian rack system works on those things, their autoloader system. Basically, there's a thin sheet of steel right above the ground. Right above that really super thin sheet of steel is the big pot tray. This is oversimplifying it, but it's a big pie tray. And it's got a bunch of rounds on the pie tray. They load them in the back here, slide them in, and then pie tray turns over to the next position. And then they slide in another ammo, and then into the next position, slide in another one, and pretty soon you got a whole circle of ammunition right underneath your turret. And these are really big rounds. When that blows up, nothing in that tank survives. It'll blow the sides out of it. It'll blow the tank treads, sometimes hundreds of yards, along with the wheels they're attached to. Like the whole side of the tank blows out. How do you even have a funeral? For the Japanese, what did they do? They always at least clip their nails or their hair. That way, if they were killed, let's say a bomb blew them up, or there was no way to bring them home, or they went down in the ocean, at least you had something that you could bury. Anyway, reading about the Yasim, about how it can fire RPG-2 and RPG-7 rounds both. I haven't really been able to find the measurements for the end of the barrel to the firing pin, or to the center of the firing pin hole, I should say, because that's what you measure it to. The center of the firing pin hole is the part that's going to be hitting your primer. So it needs to line up on the round perfectly with your primer. So you need to know the center of the hole. I don't know if the center of the hole to the end of the tube is the same on both of them. If it is exactly the same measurement, then theoretically it should be possible to fire both types out of an RPG-2, provided it's robust enough. Now, if the Yasim is able to, and I've seen some of them do look significantly more thick than an RPG-2, but it still claims that they're 40 millimeter. That makes sense if they're either getting much thicker pipe, or if they're using one pipe and using telescoping pipe, where one tube will slide inside of the other. Those are very high quality. That's not a welded pipe. What I have here, you know what this stuff is used for? Sorry, I got food in my cheek. It's used for fence, for chain link fence. The 3 pieces that I have in here is so that I can set a post and stretch the fence to it. I'll get that out of there eventually. I had a guy here in town, I was telling him about how I was trying to talk some of my friends in Colorado out of doing stupid shit. And some of my friends in Nebraska, although the Nebraskans are going to try it anyway. If you tell a Nebraskan not to mess around with something and blow it up, what are they going to do? They're probably going to go test it out and come back and tell you about it. Oh yeah, dude, I tried that. It didn't fucking work. Or, wow, dude, that was a lot bigger explosion than I expected. I see this stuff happening over in Israel. I also experienced the abuse here. I got to hear about my dead loved ones from a distance, same as a lot of others. In this fight here in America between the poor and the United States government and their cronies has been going on longer than I've been alive. A lot of people I know have bad ideas, and we get to see with Hamas, some of their really bad ideas have resulted in a lot of their own people dying real quick. The Asim RPG-2 is a scary thing. But if they do make them, they make two different models, because the first models that they made were welded seam pipe. The same exact fence pipe that I have in the back here. And you're lucky if you get one off, one shot off with it, without it blowing up in your face. It's the same pipe the Vietnamese used. You were lucky if you got one shot off without it blowing up in your face. They'd fire an average of 3 rounds. That's average. That's because you might get lucky and one of them might fire 4 or 5 rounds. But a lot of them, yeah, they'd blow up first shot. Don't fucking do it. The second type, though, because it does look thicker, it could probably withstand the explosion in an RPG-7. I just don't know if the pinholes line up. If the pinholes do line up, theoretically, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to fire an RPG-7 round out of an RPG-2 and an RPG-2 round out of an RPG-7. A lot of these places that sell demilled RPG-2s and RPG-7s, when they show the RPG-7, they usually slide in an RPG-2 round just to show that that's kind of the classic look. The rounds are very similar looking. Conical at the tip. And that's about the only part that you see sticking out of the end. However, your sight is not going to work in between both of them. And I personally wouldn't trust an RPG-2 or an RPG-7 that was built in the Gaza Strip. Having your friends use weapons like that are that dangerous, that shows that you don't care about your friends. So when I look at these videos of people making their own weapons in places like Myanmar, Burma, Vietnam, Cambodia, a lot of these suicide bombers in the Middle East, There's literally video after video after video of those people who build those things themselves. People who are glad to have them to fight back with, right? But they all tell horrible, horrible stories about the loved ones that they've lost due to their own explosives, their own weapons. The whole monkey see, monkey do thing. I think I should probably end this video, go park over by the library and panhandle a little bit.